Hi, everybody. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. I'm actually streaming on both channels, so I'm not going to do my usual introduction. But today, I'm going to talk about how antinatalism is the final solution. It solves every ontological problem, including death itself. And the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of people don't understand the goal of antinatalism. I was actually on a vegan's channel, and I was explaining that antinatalism addresses both human suffering and animal suffering. And I guess he understood the animal suffering, but he didn't understand the human suffering, right? Because he said, well, there are antinatalists in the world. I don't feel the suffering escaping my life. Um, you would think that the benefit of antinatalism would be obvious, but it's not obvious to most people. Because the obvious answer, which clearly escaped him, was that if you were never born, you would not be suffering. I'm not sure why I have to point this out, but I think a lot of people are just dismissive of antinatalism. So I'm going to actually have to explain how it benefits everybody, or how it actually solves every ontological problem. And before people think that what I'm doing right now is sacrilege, especially with the thumbnail about how even Jesus can't save us from these problems, I want y'all to understand that the original antinatalists were actually Christian, that the early Christians were Gnostic, so they were antinatalists. They believed that procreation was a sin. They abstained from sex. Jesus himself abstained from sex. So I don't think that this is sacrilege. Jesus can't compete with antinatalism, right? Even according to the so-called Christians, they believe that Jesus is going to save you from hell after you have already been bred into hell. So Christianity is a post hoc solution, that after you have already been thrown into a world of sin, then Jesus is going to scoop you up and save you. But the early Christians did not believe that. They believed the way to save souls was to not put them in this physical realm in the first place. Most Christians don't know this. They don't know anything about Christianity, the original origins of it. They're really stuck with a fake doctrine, which is used to manipulate and control them. So Jesus cannot compete with antinatalism. Now, let me go through this list, because this list is not exhaustive, right? It literally solves every ontological problem itself. And I was trying to think, is there any problem that can't be solved with antinatalism? And I thought of one, which actually antinatalism even solves that, because the only thing potentially that antinatalism can't solve is the fact that people have a desire to procreate. But if those people were never bred in the first place, they would never have the desire to procreate. So antinatalism even addresses that, because if one generation decides not to procreate, then there's no people here to have a desire to procreate. Now, and again, this list isn't exhaustive, so I'm just going to go through some of these things. Physical suffering. Antinatalism avoids disease, illness, aging, and declining. It actually avoids death itself, right? Those who are born cannot die. Physiological suffering, right? They always want to talk to you about calling a non-AA hotline, right? No, antinatalism avoids this. Those who are not born cannot suffer any mental health problems. They can't experience depression. They can't experience anxiety, grief, or loss. They can't be burdened with existential questions about the meaning of their life. They can't suffer grief. They can't suffer the death of loved ones, disappointment, unfulfilled desires, trauma. No, a person who does not exist cannot experience any of this. Social problems, right? Those who are not born, they cannot experience poverty. They can't experience homelessness. They can't experience racial prejudice or discrimination. They can't experience government oppression. They can't be victims of war. They cannot be drafted or conscripted to participate in wars. They can't be a victim of crime. They can't be victims of even parental abuse, right? They can't be victims of basically any type of social problem. I'm trying to, again, the list is infinite, but I can't name everything. But I'm trying to think of something that it can't address. It is there's nothing. It solves climate change. Those who are not born cannot cause pollution. Print. They can't exploit animals, right? For those who are vegan, those not exploit animals, right? The only reason they exploit animals is because they were bred in. They can't cause resource scarcity. There is no overpopulation, even though a lot of you say that it's a myth. It clearly isn't a myth because there's unemployment, there's a lack of resources to go around. You can say it's a lack of management, but there would be no need to manage resources in the first place if there weren't so many people. And clearly they're not managing the problem. So I already addressed that at length, that the whole, we're just going to build new roads, we're just going to create more jobs, you're eventually going to run into a brick wall. You I don't there's a fear of AI dominating society relating to unemployment that would not exist if humans were not here to compete with AI. There would be, I mean, I guess I already talked about war, but even right now, because I think there was a woman on YouTube who I watched. She was speaking in whatever they speak in Palestine. She was talking about how guilty she felt because she had children and they were stuck in this open air prison, right? And even the children were just crying. It's like, okay. I mean, of course you have sympathy for them, but at the same time, it's like, even in the worst situations imaginable, when you're in an open air prison, if you're in the Holocaust, if you're a slave, people still have a desire to procreate. And I don't understand it. I don't understand why when you know that your potential child has no future on the horizon, you're going to procreate anyway, and you're going to put them in that environment, knowing that they're not safe. I mean, we don't even have to look at Palestine. You can look at this cities like Chicago. You literally live in a war zone where you could get shot when you open your door, and they're still going to procreate. It's completely illogical. It's what Schopenhauer addressed in The Will and its representation. It's based on a fear of annihilation. They give into the will. The will has an unsatiable desire. It craves more and more. And they are just biological agents. They don't really have any deliberation. They don't have the capacity to resist the will. They're just going to be a slave to their biological impulses. And then it's like, okay, you are a 90-year-old woman who's homeless or whatever. Like, how did you get there? It started by the fact that your parents put you here in the first place. So it doesn't matter how old you are. The root cause of it is the fact that life was imposed on you, and it didn't have to happen. So the things that I just mentioned are not exhaustive because I can't list every possible benefit of antinatalism, right? People will say that antinatalism deprives them of the joy of having a child, which I've already addressed that also. You're not entitled to a human being. Human beings are not slaves. When you think that you have a right to a child, a mini-me, who you're going to impose life on just because you wanted a child, that is the most selfish and immoral thing that you can possibly do. It really takes the pale out of anything. It's worse than rape, incest, murder. It is the root cause. It is the moving force behind all suffering and death. I don't see how anybody can possibly say that they love their biological children when you put your children in this hellscape. And doesn't and you can say that it's nihilistic. You can say that, but you can't even be a nihilist unless you had life imposed on you in the first place. So Antinatalists are not nihilistic because we actually do think that suffering matters. We believe that antinatalism is the most compassionate philosophical belief system that you can possibly adopt. And they don't really have an argument. Nobody can really push back against antinatalism and say that antinatalism does not actually solve all of these ontological problems, all of these existential problems. There's not one. I was trying to think of something. I even asked AI, can you name me one problem that antinatalism doesn't actually solve? And even AI could not give me any examples. The best example they could come up with was that you have a desire to have children. But again, that's putting the chicken before the egg. You would not have a desire to have children if you were not bred into existence in the first place. So I mean, so they put you here and then they offer all these solutions that, oh, you should just be an activist. Oh, you should just go vegan. Oh, you should just turn to Christianity, right? They always, or you should just call a 988 hotline so that you don't feel depressed about the fact that you had life imposed on you. Are any of these things solutions? No, they're not. They're not. What they're looking for are incremental uh, they're looking for incremental progress that makes them feel better with their existence. They know that this is a hellscape, and this is the reason why they are so turned off by antinatalism, because it really exposes their complicity in their own oppression and their children's oppression, that they have extended it onto the next generation. They can't actually debate you. Um, Even Jordan Peterson, who is supposed to be an intellectual, Jordan Peterson can even handle David Benatar. So I don't know how all these people get on YouTube, these intellectual lightweights who think that they can actually. If Jordan Peterson couldn't debunk David Benatar, then I'm sure you can. And Jordan Peterson did a terrible job. Jordan Peterson was extremely dishonest. He made non sequiturs, and that's what everybody does, right? The best they can say is that consent is impossible, but that's not an argument. That is a non sequitur. Consent is impossible, which is why it is always immoral. Um, there is no moral justification for procreation, especially if you are oppressed, right? I'm going to say it works both ways, especially if you are oppressed and if you are privileged, because your privilege comes at somebody else's expense. Um, a lot of people claim that they care about suffering and other people's problems, but they reject antinatalism. This reveals their true priorities. They don't actually want solutions, right? Um, they want to struggle in perpetuity, right? They'll claim that they want to end homelessness. They claim that they want to cure cancer. But nobody can actually be homeless or experience sickness or illness unless they were bred into existence in the first place, right? So they don't actually want to solve anything. They damn sure don't want to end death, right? So even if they do have a genuine desire to cure cancer or help the homeless, whatever, like it, at the end of the day, they still impose a death sentence on you. So there's no way of getting around that. The fact that you know that your child is going to have to die and you decided to procreate anyway means that you literally just don't give a fuck. They want to struggle in perpetuity, right? It actually makes them feel better to struggle, to say that they're fighting for something. This is what gives their life's purpose and meaning. That they want to struggle to feel like they are the good ones because they're trying to fight for what? What are you fighting for? You're going to end up 6 feet under just like everybody else, and so are your children. What are you fighting for? I mean, again, they want to say that this is nihilism. It's not nihilism. I think that what they're doing is nihilistic. What they're doing is completely nihilistic because they don't think that their children's lives matter. They don't think that their children's suffering matters. They don't think there's anything they can do about it. So they are the ones who are defeatists. Like antinatalists are not defeatists. We have come up with an actual solution that nobody has ever been able to debunk, and everything that they have come up with has failed. They keep talking about how democracy is going to make everything better, Christianity is going to save us. None of this shit works. We need to we're going to rise up against Trump. Are you out your fucking mind? Trump is going to send a fucking military and fucking blow you to smithereens. And for somebody like me, I don't give a fuck. So if you want to put me on the front lines to be one of your foot soldiers, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not one of these people who's clinging to life, but you are one of those people who's clinging to life, and you're going to have children to be one of your damn foot soldiers. Good luck with that. I guess one of the things that people don't understand, that life is constant suffering, because suffering is the default. So any desire that you have, any pleasure you get is based on the desire that you had first. So you can't enjoy life without suffering first. Suffering is the baseline. You enjoy eating because you were hungry first, right? You enjoy sex because you had a craving for sex first. You were horny. You enjoy, I don't know, knowledge, right? Some people find that enjoyable. I personally enjoy reading and obtaining knowledge, but that is only because I was ignorant first. So there is no way to get around it. That is the baseline, that there's a lack, and then you have that lacking that was temporarily satiated, and it's constant. I'm going to be doing a second live stream about hedonism, while hedonism is not a solution. There's some interesting things that Aristotle said, but even pursuing a life of pleasure is not a solution. That is completely unethical, and I'm going to explain why. So this is false solutions dilemma, right? Let's cure cancer, but they're going to create people who are, because they always say that their child is going to find a cure for cancer. Meanwhile, they're more likely to contract cancer than to cure it. They're going to end poverty. They're more likely to face poverty. They're going to improve mental health. So it's almost like they're creating the victims while claiming that they're going to solve the problem, right? Your child is more likely to suffer mental health. Your child is more likely to be a victim of systemic oppression. I don't know what these people are thinking, and they always act surprised when it happens to their children, because it's not supposed to happen to their children. It's supposed to happen to somebody else's children, right? And let me just make a side note here, because I did present actual solutions, right? It's not like I'm a defeatist. I have done a lot to try to make this life better, at least for me, right? The things that I think are important to fight against systemic oppression. I have run for office. I have protested. I have, I've done a lot back in the day. Now I've pretty much given up, because I already know that people don't give a shit. They'll talk about how they want a better life for themselves and their children, but most people are completely apathetic and they don't do shit. And at this point, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to make the sacrifices. I've made a lot of sacrifices, and in fact, I have effectively destroyed my livelihood in the process, because I have made those sacrifices, in my 20s. So I refuse to do it now, because even just recently, people talk about how they want reparations. I gave you guys a step-by-step solution on how to get a state, how to get it, but you don't actually want it, right? You don't want to actually know the gory details, the boring minutia of how to actually get it, because nobody actually told me that what I said was wrong. Y'all keep talking about how you want it, but you don't actually have the patience to sit there and listen to obtain the knowledge of how to do it. because what I said was based on how other people have done it. Anyway, because I'm streaming on both channels, I'm not going to I'm not going to go into detail about that. But what I'm saying is they claim that they want a better world, but they're not actually willing to do what it takes to have a better world. So what they really want is to struggle. They want to struggle. They want their children to struggle. They don't actually want a better world. Struggling actually makes them feel good. If they actually were to eliminate all the problems in their life to be millionaires, they like this whole back and forth. The Christians want to battle with non-Christians. Vegans want to battle with non-Christians. The same thing with any group. The same thing with racism. It's like this black and white, Palestine versus Jews. It's just everybody wants to have a back and forth. They don't want any actual real solution. And what I'm saying is that antinatalism is the final solution. It's the final solution to all this shit. It's almost, I guess my effort, my heart isn't always completely in. I would like anarchy, but at the same time, I already know that that's pie in the sky. I'm never going to have an anarchist society. But I talk about it, and that's probably why I don't get that many views, because I already know nobody's interested in it. People want to be oppressed in perpetuity so they can be a perpetual victim. They enjoy this shit. As much as they talk about how they hate Donald Trump, they support the very system which allowed Donald Trump to be in power in the first place, right? This shit didn't start with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a product of the system that you supported. Donald Trump was put in power through the very democracy that you support. And this oppression didn't start with Donald Trump. This shit was years in the making, by the way. People, they want to have no King's Day, right? They don't understand that the real kings are the philosopher kings on the Supreme Court. And they want to reduce everything down to Donald Trump. No. Hell to the no. Donald Trump did not start all this shit. The shit was going on. People were being oppressed on a daily basis. You just turned a blind eye to it because it didn't pertain to you. When people were being oppressed, when people had their livelihoods denied to them, such as myself, when people were being harassed by the police, when people could not start a business through these draconian government regulations, nobody gave a shit. Now you want to act like Donald Trump is the worst thing ever. No, the boogeyman existed long before Donald Trump. This whole system is the damn boogeyman. So I'm just not interested. I'm not interested in struggling. I'm not going to get out there and protest with you because I already know that you don't give a shit. I was a part of the Occupy movement and I gave them real solutions. I told them to protest the judicial system, right? I told them that it all starts with the judiciary. I explained to them in detail how it actually works, that it's not the police. The police only give them a case to prosecute. If you want to actually address the system at its root, you need to go and protest the judges and the lawyers. I explained it to them in great detail. No, they want to go protest the fucking police. The police who have no actual systemic power. The police, the only power that they actually have is to actually kill you, which is physical force, right? But when it comes down to it on an institutional level, they don't have any power. It's the attorneys who are going to prosecute you, right? It's the attorney who's going to put you in prison, but they only want to protest the damn police. So they're not interested in real solutions. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. When you try to present real solutions and you actually are going to make an effort to actually go out and do it, they're not going to support you. They're going to support bullshit. None of this shit is grassroots. It's always some fake bullshit. Every movement that I see right now going on, there's no King's Day bullshit. This is not organic. This is not grassroots. It's not. This is some new age bullshit with some new age, new world order agenda hidden behind. This probably is George Soros or some shit. I don't know who's behind that shit. What I'm going to say is that they're not interested in helping the American people. If you try to do anything grassroots, you're not going to get any actual support. People only support bullshit. They support grifters and scammers. And and then they think that you're supposed to procreate and you're supposed to contribute to this oppressive ass system. No one getting damn well they're not going to help you to fight against any oppression, and any children that you do have are going to be left vulnerable. This is bullshit, right? This is so bullshit. And the main ones who should be fighting against oppressions are the ones who are not doing it. The ones who do procreate, they're not trying to fight for a better world to make the world a better place for the damn children. No, they're going to dump their children out into this damn world and let the child fend for themselves. Meanwhile, the child doesn't only need to be protected from the system. The child also needs to be protected from their damn parents, because the parents are their first oppressors who's beating the fuck out of them. So long before the system even oppresses them, their parents are already doing that. I just watched this video about this vegan mother whose child ran away because the child was hungry, right? The stuff that the mother was feeding the child was leaving the child hungry. And so the child had to run away to try to get some actual food. And the vegan mother said, oh no, we're vegan, right? And the child's talking about how whatever plant-based stuff was causing her stomach. This was like an 8-year-old little girl. I think I may cover that. All to have hunger pains. And the mother didn't care. She was just committed to her philosophy. So she's going to use her child as a means to an end. It's a failure to proselytize. She can't actually use the art of persuasion to convince her child, to convince the rest of the world through vegan advocacy. So she's going to create a captive audience through procreation. She's already created a child to be vegan, and the child is already rebelling at the tender age of 8. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Children are means to an end. They don't actually want to end suffering. They want this shit to perpetuate. So anytime they try to, okay, again, I'm going to address this separately when I do the video about, or the live stream about hedonism. Anytime people get pleasure, it's usually at somebody else's expense. Anytime people are happy, it's because they made somebody else miserable. It's because they oppressed somebody else. Happiness does not exist in a vacuum. It never does. It's always in relation to somebody else. That, oh, I got somebody to take me out to dinner. I abused somebody to smile at me under duress, because if they didn't smile at me, I was going to have them fired. I manipulated somebody into giving me their money. It's anytime somebody is happy, look at where their happiness came from. It always comes from somebody else. It always comes because somebody else got taken advantage of or exploited. Happiness does not exist in a vacuum, right? A lot of people are happy because, well, I want y'all to know that just because y'all are miserable under Trump, there's another side to this coin. A lot of these people are happy under Trump because they get to make your life miserable. So they're taking pleasure in your misery. The fact that you are miserable, the fact that you're protesting, they love this shit. And the same way would be vice versa. If you had the person you wanted in office and you got the policies that you wanted, they would be equally miserable, and you would be taking happiness and joy at their expense. It goes both ways. Now, let me see if I have any comments, because this was a rant, and some of this shit I didn't even plan on saying. Antinatalism cancels out all problems. If everyone consciously agreed for the better of our species to just not do it, we're more intelligent enough to realize life just isn't worth it. Well, right. Of course, he's going to tell you to fuck off, because he doesn't actually have a retort to what you're saying. I'm trying to tell you, even Unnatural Vegan did that. She made this video against antinatalism, and she couldn't actually debunk it. She claimed that antinatalism has been debunked, but she sure as hell didn't. she just basically said anti-laism is stupid and most people want to procreate. And she talked about how procreation is so rewarding. Everything that she said was completely self-serving. Yeah, of course they're going to tell you to fuck off because they want to talk about how the problem is everybody else. They can never accept that they are part of the problem. They won't listen to any logic. Of course not. They don't want to hear that shit. They don't want to hear that procreation is the absolute worst thing that you could possibly do, that they're actually abusing their children. No, those are my damn children. I can do what I want. Those children are mine. They're my property. I can do what I want. One second, y'all. Once you show them the truth, which signals and shows them things they don't want to hear and does not align with their narcissistic desires, it breaks down the entire world and makes them violent. Yeah, there was a psychologist who made this video about narcissistic parents, and he listed all these traits. And I was going down a list. I was like, all of those, everything that you listed applies to all parents. Like, there, maybe I should review that. I didn't want to do it because it was copyright. I don't want to get a copyright strike, but everything that he said applies to every single biological parent. And I'm trying to think, like, who's exempt from this? But I want a legacy, a family, bloodline, etc. Right. I. There is no non-selfish reason to procreate. Not one. They're always obsessed with their so-called legacy, which is they don't want to be around to witness anyways. I mean, they won't be around to witness anyways. It could be a bad legacy they leave behind. Right. You don't know who the hell you're creating. Your child could be the next fucking Hitler. A woman's godly purpose is to marry and bear children. Yeah, I was just listening to Candace Owens, and she said that Taylor Swift is a bad role model because she's in her 30s and she's not a wife and she's not a mother. It sounds to me like Taylor Swift is a perfect role model. Like, you're the bad role model. You just bred all these children into hell. And what does Candace Owens have? Like 4 children? I always get the numbers wrong. I said that Elon Musk only had 5 children. Elon Musk has 13 children. That is absolutely fucking disgusting. Somebody needs to find Elon Musk and get him sterilized because, first of all, he doesn't even have good genes, so he should not be littering the world with his offspring. Wounds make tomb. Exactly. Exactly. Is there anything else that I need to say? This was a complete rant that I guess sometimes the best rants are when you go off script because I just really needs to get some of the shit off my chest. I keep hearing about all these fucking solutions, and it's like these are just band-aids. You're not addressing shit. Address this shit at its fucking root. The root cause is the imposition of life. All this other shit that you're talking about is post hoc. You're not coming up with any solutions. Like, oh, go help the homeless. Yeah, I can help the homeless, but if you're going to continue breeding, then there's going to be more fucking homeless who are going to need to be rescued. And then y'all thought that the government was going to be your fucking safety net, that you thought it was safe to have children because the government was going to have all these social services to protect you. Bullshit. You can see that Donald Trump is cutting all these social services. And you were so dependent on this shit that you just put all your eggs in one basket to think that everything was going to be okay. You threw caution to the wind, and now you're fucking whining. Now there's weeping and gnashing of the fucking teeth. Which, if you had any fucking foresight, you should have known that this shit was not going to last forever, right? There's not going to be any Social Security when you reach 70. You don't have a fucking future. Your children don't have any fucking future. This shit is going to get infinitely worse. There's no way to describe how bad things can possibly get. Things can get infinitely worse, and because you have this Pollyanna bias that you think that things are just. What do you think? I mean, a lot of these people just haven't really faced any real adversity. And even when they do it, when they do face adversity, they don't learn from it. No, they don't. They just double down and think that the solution is to have more fucking children. Yeah, the system this took one of your damn children, and you're going to have more children. Yeah, one of your children get killed. One of your children dies from cancer or something tragic happens to them. You don't learn from that shit. Your child commits suicide. You don't learn from. There's a woman who did this whole video about how her daughter committed suicide, and instead of lamenting the fact that she made a mistake by imposing life on her daughter in the first place, all she could say was how she regretted the fact that her child never gave her grandchildren. So you wanted your daughter who committed suicide to give you grandchildren. Why? So they commit suicide too? So they can live a lifetime of depression. She's like, oh, we could have just given her some mental health treatment. I thought life was so wonderful, right? If life is so wonderful, why do you need to be put on antidepressants? Why do you need a damn counselor to get through this hellscape, right? That in and of itself proves that life is not as beautiful as they claim, but they're not going to accept that. They're going to be delusional. They're going to cling to their fucking script, even though they know it's fucking bullshit. They know that this is not beautiful. These people are so fucking dishonest. These fucking Christians who know this is bullshit, these pro-life, these pro-natalists, they're so full of shit. The only way that you can think life is beautiful is if you live in your own little bubble. Maybe you're wealthy and you don't actually look around to see. You would basically have to have no empathy whatsoever, because there really is no segment of the population that has not faced adversity in some way. But these people don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are. It doesn't. You could be a billionaire. You still have encountered people who have suffered enormous grief and loss. You have, at the very least, you have personally witnessed those who have faced the death of loved ones, right? Everybody has. Most people have. If you live long enough, your parents have died, right? So people act like, well, money is going to solve everything. No, money does not solve everything. You have seen people close to you experience the death of their parents and grieve over that shit, and you don't give a fuck. You just thought, oh, well, that's life. That's life. That's just the way things have to be. There's nothing I can do about it. That is a very nihilistic approach. There is a nihilistic position that you think that there is nothing you can do. There is absolutely something you can do about it. I'm not going to create a child who's going to have to experience my death. I'm not going to have to. Let me just say this: there are people who already have children, and they don't even think twice about it. They don't give a fuck. I'm going to say, if you have children, then you have a moral duty to at least leave your children a damn inheritance. It doesn't matter whether you're estranged from your child or what. You created that damn child. You did not just create a damn baby. You created a full human being who's going to have to navigate through this world. There is no amount of money that you can ever pay a child to repay them for the suffering and ultimate death that you have imposed on them. If you have any type of responsibility, if you have any morals, any ethics, you absolutely have a duty to leave your child a fucking inheritance. They earned it just by the fact that they fucking exist. This is something that you wanted. You decided to have a family. You decided to breed them into existence at their expense. You owe them a fucking inheritance. Your children do not owe you. You owe your fucking children. Now let's see if I have any other comments. No. I guess the thing is that antinatalism is a long-term strategy for ending existential dilemmas, right? The human predicament that if you're not born, then you can't experience any suffering. But a lot of people don't have that foresight, mostly because they're not thinking about a complete human being. when they procreate, they're only thinking that they're creating a baby, right? So what they're thinking about is, I created a cute little baby. Everything that happens after that, oh, I'm going to raise them up until the age of 18, and then I'm going to kick them out the house. Everything that happens to them after that is not my fault. It's personal responsibility, right? Even though you didn't choose to be brought into existence, it's your responsibility. I'm not even going to give you a trade, or I'm not going to leave you an inheritance so that you can actually have a fighting chance. I'm just going to kick you out the house. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to navigate your way through this life. The law does not even say that you have a duty to leave an inheritance. There's no forced heirships in any state in America, so you can completely disinherit your children, even after you have abused and exploited them throughout their entire life. You have an absolute right to disinherit them, and everybody's fine about it. This is what I'm trying to tell you. These so-called pro-family values, this is bullshit. There is no such thing as a fucking family. We're just a collection of individuals. You're going to suffer as an individual, and you're going to die as an individual. So they're creating a fucking family, and then the end result is that you're going to be left with a life that you didn't even want, and you're going to be left to figure it out on your own. They wanted a damn family, and you're the one who has to suffer as a consequence of it. And there's no way to reverse it. There's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck with it. You don't even have the right to die. And I guess I'm going to be doing another live stream to talk about why I embrace pro-mortalism over hedonism. But I guess with that, I'm just going to end this live stream because I did rant longer than I planned to. But I don't think there's anything else I can say about it. I guess most people just have never considered anti-natalism as a solution because they see it as being defeatist, right? It's not being defeatist. It's not nihilistic. You can struggle all you want, but your children did not choose this shit. So I can still fight against the system, but I'm not going to impose that burden on my potential offspring. Let me read these last two comments, and then family doesn't even serve a real purpose either. It only exists due to the curse of being mortals and this enslavement system. Otherwise, it has no point. Well, it does have a point. All the points are completely selfish. It's basically a fear of annihilation, that you get to have immortality through your progeny. So children are an extension of yourself. They're a mini-me. And so a lot of people are afraid of dying, and they think if I have children, then I get to live on through my children. Clearly, this is not the way things work. Like, your consciousness does not transfer to your children. You're going to die, and your children are going to die too. Your children have absolutely nothing to do with you. At most, maybe your children can carry on your memory, but at the end of the day, like David Benatar said, most people are going to be completely forgotten within 2 generations. You'll be lucky if you even remember 2 generations, because most people are that inconsequential. Most people don't actually do anything to affect any meaningful change. Most people just come, they serve as wage slaves, and then they die, and nobody knows anything about them, or nobody's going to remember them except their immediate circle. And for a lot of people, that's good enough, right? As long as somebody remembers me, they're okay with imposing that burden that their children are going to have to witness them die. They don't give a fuck. Just like my dad didn't give a fuck. He wanted to burden me. He wanted to burden me with having to watch him die and waste away. He didn't give a shit about how that affected me. He specifically stomached me and wanted me to watch him do that shit. I don't think that is fair for anybody. Nobody's have to witness their parents die. They always talk about how no parent should have to bury their children. No child should have to bury their parent. Family actually serves much more as a trap for most people. Yeah, it's a trap because your parents want you to procreate. Your parents have needs. Your parents are going to keep you. If you want to be detached from this world and detached from all this bullshit, you're really going to have to get away from your parents, from your family, because they're going to keep you as closely tied to this world as possible. They want you to have children. They want you to care about their bullshit. They want you to celebrate their birthdays. They want you to care about shit that isn't important. And so they're going to sidetrack you and derail your consciousness to focus on the shit that they think is important. So, yeah, when I did that whole live stream about how the child free Christ, the Bible even says that you're supposed to hate your children. Not literally, but um, you're supposed to have a better, as a Christian, you're supposed to have a deeper connection with your spiritual kingdom than your own family. So, yeah, your family can actually be a hindrance for your spiritual growth. So, I'm going to go ahead and end this live stream because people are starting to leave. And I think I already said everything I needed to say. So, thank y'all for being here.